Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sports Design School. Now today I have a quick video for you guys where I'll be breaking down this USC Trojans type design, and I'll go through each layer, walk you through the entire process. It's going to be an awesome video. But thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you aren't already. And without further ado, let's jump in. So I was looking through Sparks the other day, and I love just like saving some designs that I might want to recreate later or really just look at for inspiration. And I found this particular USC design. Now USC recently has made huge upgrades to their graphic design team. They've really been bringing in some top level talent, some people from LSU, some people from different parts of the country, different creative staffs, and really honing in on their creative. And you can tell the results have already been impactful in USC's recruiting classes. You can see, especially this year, USC had no business recruiting as well as they did, and I genuinely think their recruiting and design departments played a huge factor in that. And so USC kind of has a cool style where they kind of mimic some of the elements of LA and bring in some different elements like you can see in this design right here. And I just wanted to create something similar using my own elements, not a complete copy, but just something in line with what they do. And so I went through and recreated this Keaton Slovis design using the same kind of LA palm tree skyline elements that we talked about. And I'm just gonna walk you through what I did for this design layer by layer and show you how simple it can be to recreate something just like this. So I'm just gonna go through and turn off all of my layers one by one so we can really get a feel for the bare bones of this design. And just like that, that is pretty easy. And so you can see here, I started with this Keaton Slovis, quarterback for USC cutout. And not cutout necessarily, I just found, let me see, this image right here. And I just dragged it into Photoshop, and then all I did, as you can see, is I just scaled it up a bit. So it was just the normal image, and then I scaled it up and rotated it, because I think when you kind of have that rotating effect and kind of throw everything off being just straight across, it really adds some nice dynamic effect in the eye. And then the next thing I did from that point on is I wanted to capture the palm trees that they used kind of in this style of design, and I just went through and went into unsplash.com, and I think I just pulled off one of these palm tree images. And so what I did for that, and I'll turn this on so we can see, is so you can see I just have this palm tree image. I'll drag it to the top so that we can see, and I just kind of positioned it where I wanted to. Now they kind of have it faded in the background. It's not like a super prominent part of the design, it's just a subtle detail. And they have it in black and white, which I wanted to make sure I included. But then they also have just it pretty white in the background. It's pretty subtle like this. And so in order to recreate that effect, I used this levels adjustment tool, and I really just did some drastic dragging of that over to the left a little bit. And to be honest, I could probably turn the fill down on this just a tad, and maybe it might look a little bit better. And so we'll just leave that at 89 for right now. And so that is this part of the design so far. It seems pretty simple because it is pretty simple. The next thing I did is added this LA Skyline overlay. It kind of acts like a lens flare a little bit because the colors in the sunset just look really awesome. Let me duplicate it so we can see what's going on. And so here we have, and I'll turn my blending mode back to normal. So here we have the image that I chose. And again, I think this is either from Pexels or unsplash.com. And what I did is just downloaded it. And then similar to the Keaton Slovis design, I tilted it a bit so it's not straight across to add some more dynamic looks to this design. And then you can see here, I turned it into, I believe, a lighten mode. And I really love the way that this interacts with this number right here. And I just think it looks really sharp. But the thing is, I really wanted to kind of still capture the Keaton Slovis elements. So I went through and created a mask just like that. And then I just did a subtle gradient from this point down so that we could still include like the nice sunset colors and still include the skyline, but we just have this in the kind of like a subtle effect so that we can still see Keaton Slovis in the design. And that was that. I also turned the hue and saturation up a little bit, but you can just go up to Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. And for that, I just turned it up pretty much a good bit just to really bring out those sunset colors that we had talked about. Then what I did next is, just like this design, they have a little bit of a grunge overlay on this right side too, and I wanted to do something similar. And so what I did is I used a brush tear brush. So if we go here and let me do a color overlay so it's easier to see, and I'll just set it to red. So here I just have this brush tear brush. And what I did for that basically is you just go up, create a new layer, hit B on your keyboard, and then I have some installed brush tears, just like this. And I think this might be close to the one I used. And all you really do is click, just like that. And it gives you a nice brush tear effect. And so I did that. And then I added our palm tree image over the top. And I remember for that other, we set it down to 89 on the fill. So I'm gonna do the same here. And actually it looks like I might just bring that back to where it was just so we can match. Yeah, that looks fine. Cool. And so now we have this palm tree tear, and all we did is, like I said, create a clipping mask over this page tear effect. And now we get into some of the more specific detail parts of our design. So here we have this 9, which is pretty subtle, you can't really see. And in this design that USC put together, they have like the 15 for Drake London, and it's in their font. I don't have the USC font, and so what I used is this font called NCAA Iowa Hawkeyes, which is the font that the Iowa Hawkeyes use. It kind of gives me similar look and feel to the font that they use, and so that's what I went with for this design. And it's just to have the stroke just like this, all you do is go over, and I'm just gonna reset it to normal so we can see. So I just typed 9, and then what you're gonna do is double click and hit stroke, and then you're gonna choose stroke and set it to center and 3. From there, if you turn your fill down, that will get rid of all of the fill in the image and leave just the stroke. And then you're able to just have this kind of outline effect. Now there are a couple other ways to do this. There's some better ways to do it, but I find this is the quickest and most efficient to get the results that you're looking for. Perfect. Now for this font that USC uses for the Drake London, that font is called Industry. I believe it's similar to what we use for sports design school. Actually, it might be the exact same thing. And so for that, I just typed in Keaton Slovis, and I'll turn off this gradient overlay just so we can see and change our text to black. So as you can see, all I did is typed in Keaton, enter Slovis, and I added a few spaces just to give it that offset look that they did with their own design. I then added a gradient overlay. So you can do that by just double clicking, hitting gradient overlay. I believe one of the built-in options is like this white to grayish overlay. And that just kind of gives it the nice, cool, dynamic look that they have here. Now, going back to the way they kind of styled this, they have a couple of rectangles behind their text. And so we just copied that exact same thing. You just go through and use rectangle tool and drag your rectangles just like that. And you can see we're making good progress through this design. I added a Nike logo to the top right just to give it a little bit more fill into the top right corner. And then I added the USC sticker to the top left. Now for this USC sticker, I went through and added this kind of overlay on top just to make it look like a kind of worn vintage sticker. But for the sticker itself, all it is I have this circle and I have the USC logo with a mask applied so that I'm able to kind of expand beyond the circle. I could also just create a clipping mask, but I was trying to be difficult and just create a layer mask for the USC logo. And so there we have it. I rotated it just a bit to give it kind of an offset sticker look. And then like I said, I just dragged in this overlay right here with the blending mode to multiply. Now this is literally, I just typed in grunge paper and I found this image right here, pretty high quality image. And I dragged it in and I'll show you what it looks like just on normal. So there is our paper tear image. I created a clipping mask on top of our sticker and then I just hit it, set it to multiply. And there we go. We have covered everything in this design other than a few finishing touches. I have this grain overlay that just kind of adds a little bit of grain, and I have some levels just to bring some more contrast into the image. Now for my grain overlay, the way I did that is I just went up and hit solid color and set it to white. And then from there I hit filter, camera raw filter, convert to smart object. And then we go down to effects and we increase our grain and decrease our vignetting to whatever value you want. And there you have this kind of vignette grain effect. And then if you know blending modes, you know if we set our blending mode to multiply, it keeps all of the non-white values and removes all of the white parts. So we are left with our grain and our vignette overlay. So a nice, easy way to add a bit of vignetting to your design. Then you can play around with how much you want or go back into the camera raw filter and do it from there. I then also added this gradient map just to kind of level out some of the colors a little bit. And I believe that is it. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this simple design breakdown. As you can see, creating a cool looking effect like this doesn't take lots of layers. It doesn't take lots of cool effects. It can be something pretty simple and quick to do. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. We really appreciate it when you guys do that. And I'll see you guys in the next one.